hope you're all having a great Tuesday wherever you are in the world. My name is Sarah Fairclough, and I'm a member of the Platform Solutions team here at SmartSimple. Today, I'm joined with Mark and Anne, two of my teammates, and they're going to be going over the July 22 upgrade. So just a couple housekeeping items before I pass it over to Mark. The session is being recorded and it is uploaded to YouTube. It just takes about a week and it will be sent to your emails if you register for the session today. As well, we love to hear your questions. We just won't be answering them until the end, but please feel free to post throughout as you think of them, and then Mark and Anne will do their best to answer all of them. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Mark. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the July 2022 upgrade. I'm going to start by going through what's included in this upgrade. As you said, questions, just throw them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. I just want to run through everything so everyone gets to hear everything. And then those who want to stay for all the question and answers can stay longer and take as much time as needed. So I'm going to wiki.smartsimple.com and the upgrades. This is where you see all of your upgrades right here. And we list what's in this upgrade, but also if you go to the past upgrades or after this upgrade, any service packs or releases in between upgrades will also get listed on the same page. So you'll see we'll use this page for the next 3 months or so with anything that changes in that time frame. This upgrade for the key release is July 21st. Depending on your server environment, you may get it later than that. As you can see here, key release, so our server internally here is July 21st, and the backup has been applied June 30th, the backup on the 21st, and the release on the 28th. If you haven't seen already, in the backup, if you've never gone to a backup, usually you just come into your instance and you type BK right here, and then you can see the upgrade on your instance and try out your processes just to confirm that everything's still working as you'd hoped. As always, I usually put up a video, less than 5 minutes, just the key highlights, things that I think are really important for everyone to see. But for all the details that we're going to go through, you need to come down a little lower on this page. So without further ado, let's talk about the global system upgrades. So these are things that are going to happen automatically. You don't have to opt into it. It's just a change that's going to happen. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the organization security matrix. So if I go to global settings, security, the organization security matrix. All right, so here I've got the organization and security matrix. For existing clients, there's no change. For new clients after this upgrade, new systems that are formed, we're going to make it more stringent. So right now, for example, if I hadn't set anything in the hierarchy, if I had set the category, for example, it's an OR in this case. So basically, as long as they have the category, they can see it. After the upgrade, for new clients, no access for this now, because we're going to make it so it's a proper and. So you'd have to have something in the hierarchy and you have to have something in the category. So once again, not to scare anyone, because existing clients, it's still going to behave the way it always did. But for new clients, we're going to start enforcing that this has to be an and. There has to be a hierarchy and a category if you want someone to see things. While I'm here, I just want to show you as well, we also added the ability to specify associated organizations. So that's a new scope of access that you can now permission, both here on the organization and the user. Now, if you wanted to enforce this, and you can also do that, you can just go to global settings, security tab, and on the system, under system security, there's one here called behavior. Behavior right there. So if you want the forced and it shows here what it is. If you want that forced and, you just turn that off, and you'll get that forced and like all of our new clients. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that because I know whenever we change the security, we want to make sure everyone's really aware of that. The next thing I want to talk about is the tab bar. If you've never used the tab bar before, it's this feature down here. So for example, I can have this, I'm working on this, I can have maybe an application open, I could be adding the custom field in that, and I can go back and forth and really kind of jump around while I'm configuring and doing things like that. So it's a nice usability feature. Previously, you turn this on by role, but then once you turn it on, you had to tell your users that then they had to go to their user menu and then they had to enable it as well. So there was 2 settings to turn this on for people. After this upgrade, if you've given them role permission for the tab bar, they're going to see the tab bar. They no longer have to jump through that hurdle and turn the tab bar on. So just be aware that if you've given role permission for this to your users, they'll see this. They don't have to turn it on anymore. It's all based on role permission. The next thing to note is just accessibility mode. It used to be an option for our system, but we've made it we just turned it on for everybody. So what that means is when I'm clicking on things like this, I get nice tooltips, and now every item that's on the page is going to be keyboard accessible. So things like your view profile, the history and those things. There were a few things that weren't keyboard accessible that you had to turn that on to get. Now it'll all be keyboard accessible. So if you're tabbing through, you'll notice that you can tab to a few items that you couldn't before. Again, this should cause no disruption for anyone, but we really need to make sure that that's on for everybody. And most clients have had to have it on already. So, so talking about usability stuff, I want to show you something that we've done that you're going to notice. So when I'm working on an application, let's say, and I save, the page reloads and I go back to the top of the page. So in this upgrade, what we did, just to make it a little more convenient, is it's still going to reload. It's still going to bring back to the top of the page, but it's going to remember the tab I'm on, and it's going to remember approximately where I was in the scroll position. So that way I'm a little closer to where I was before I hit save. So again, that's a nice little usability feature. It's just going to try and remember where you were. Now, this only affects level 1s, 2s, 3s, organizations, and user templates. So it doesn't happen on the settings pages, but we wanted to get this out and to you guys right away so you can, make your life a little easier. So it's going to retain that page location on save now. The next thing I want to talk about is the media library. So we made a couple of changes to the media library. And if you've never used the media library, it's something you can use to stream videos. I can go see it full screen. I can do it right in line. I can annotate it. It's got all sorts of great functionality. I can put this in a portal. Anyway, so what changed in this one was, first of all, we used to have a button called Edit Metadata. So the button style changed a little bit, and it's no longer called Edit Metadata. It's now called Properties. So this is the properties for the file I've uploaded. So if I click that, it's now called sharing. So if you click this button, that enables sharing. So on a file by file basis, a user can come in and choose whether or not they want to share that file publicly. And once if they decide to share it, you can get the share link here, where I can copy that link and send it to someone, and they can go and watch that video. We've also surfaced the statistics. Wow, sorry about all those S's. The statistics. We've surfaced the statistics. The sharing and the statistics used to be under the metadata. It used to be buried under here, but now we've surfaced those if you've turned on sharing. So if I turn off sharing, for example, you can see those go away. All right, and you have to have edit access, obviously, to choose whether or not you can share that. The next thing I want to show you is sign-up pages. And this may seem a simple thing, but for any of you that have had to build sign-up pages like me, I think it's going to be really helpful. So I'm going to go to an organization sign-up page. And what we've added here is the save as. Because sometimes you can build a sign-up page and you have exactly how you want, but maybe you want another sign-up page that's almost identical. I just want to give a different role or a different category. So now I can do a save as. I can make a copy of this, make that one change, and I don't have to reset up the whole sign-up page. So again, it's another improvement to life kind of upgrade thing here. The other thing to note is that we gave sign-up pages a name because you really didn't have, other than description, you didn't really have a way to differentiate between your sign-up pages. So you can see here, I had a whole bunch of existing sign-up pages and they have no name, but any new ones, I can add a name now, and any ones I add forward, I'll put the name in, but you'll see that you can now add that name. All right. Then the next thing we did was, with the way PDFs render, we changed it slightly if you have a caption above. So I know this is probably hard to see. Let me zoom in a little bit. Maybe that's better for you. Okay. So before the upgrade, I've got a field here that has a caption above, right? So it's called objectives. And you can see there wasn't enough room for the answer to stick with the question. And so what happens before the upgrade is that the answer would move to the next page, leaving this kind of gap. So in this upgrade, only if you have the caption above, if there's not enough room for the answer, it will move the question and answer to the next page. And if there's not enough room for both, then it will split it. And I just show you, while I've got you here, I just want to show you exactly which field this applies to. So if I go back into my record here, The change only affects when the caption is above like this. So you can see here I'm talking about caption location above field. So if it's above field, we've changed the structure so that the question stays with the answer whenever possible. All right. So those are the things that are going to happen automatically. Now let's talk about more exciting things, the things that you can opt into. So first off, we've added support for multi-factor authentication, like a new version with SMS and email. So when I log in or when I time out, I can, instead of using an authenticator app on my phone, which we already had, you could send someone a text message with a confirmation, like a code, or you can send them an email with a code, and then they can enter their username and password, then they enter the code, and then they gain access. So for extra security, we've added SMS and email for those verification codes when you're logging in. The thing to note is that if you want to use the SMS, you can use it without the SMS, but if you want to use the SMS text messaging, you'll need to contact us so we can turn that on, because it is a billable feature, the text messaging. The next thing we did, and I just want people to notice, the single sign-on page, if you're setting up single sign-on, we've made a few changes to that page to make it a little easier to use, but we've also added some new settings here to better support identity federation. So that's coming from one system into another system and creating that user or giving and taking roles. It's really, I don't want to undersell this, but it's probably better as its own webinar or its own huddle to kind of explain how you'd set up the federated identity federation. Just to note that there are changes on that page to support that. I already talked about the new scope of access, associate organizations. Let's go look at invitations. All right. So if you've never used invitations, these are a great way to invite people to come and contribute to your application. So maybe I'm a reviewer, or I want someone to be a co-applicant for this application. The application has already started. I can come in here, I can add the person I want to add, and then I can send them or resend them an invite. And that person will get an email and saying, hey, we want you to contribute to this application process. When they do that, you now have an option to give a reason. So maybe I didn't want to contribute, so I can say, instead of just declining, I can also say why I declined, or maybe even why I accepted. And I'll just show you how you can turn that on real quick. So if I go to, let me go to Submission Manager, Configuration Settings. I go to grants, and I believe it's right, invitation templates. There we go. So here's my invitation template that I set up. And if I go to this, you can see I can choose a reason for why they accepted or why they declined. So I can just turn that on, save, and now when they get that email and they open up that page, they'll have a box that says, hey, that looks like this, why are you declining? Or all right. When it comes to e-signatures, so if you're using Adobe Sign or another integration like that, to have people sign their documents, maybe you before you're going to send them funding, they have to sign the PDF. Sometimes that PDF or that e-signature document may fail. So for example, maybe the person never responded, maybe someone canceled it, but there are conditions where it didn't get completed. So if it didn't complete, you can now have a workflow you can fire to take some type of action. Maybe you're going to message somebody, maybe notify someone that they need to take action or follow up with the client or whatever it is you want to do. You can now set up that workflow based on e-signature requests that did not complete. Let's go talk about the advanced data table for a second. Now, there's lots of ways you can do budgets. Maybe using the Excel parser. Some clients are using the advanced data table. So, for example, here's an advanced data table. I come in here, I make a change, I save it, and it updates this display text variable right away. Now, what we've done is sometimes maybe I want to update other fields as well, not just this one display text variables. If I come in here, what we've added, so yeah, because you may be using the values in here to populate something else or to do something else, and you want to make the change here, but you don't want to have to kind of go back and hit save again to have it update in the other areas of the system. So what we've done is we've added this new field formula here, where you can do that. You can specify a formula here and it'll go and update those other areas as needed. Okay, so just be aware of that. Next thing I want to show you is, let's see if I have it on this one, is the Gantt chart. Let me go to a different record. So we've always had the Gantt chart for a long time now, but and we've been able to put colors onto charts as well. You can choose your own custom colors, but in this upgrade for the Gantt chart, we extended that functionality there. So here's a Gantt chart. It's going to show me a timeline, maybe when something started, when it ended for different aspects of the project. And if I open it up, you'll note down here that I've specified specific colors. So, if you have the same chart or different charts, but you want to have a specific color theme as opposed to the one that's default created, you can do this now for the Gantt chart. So the way I did that is I said, well, what do I want to color by? I picked subject, you might want status or type or something else. And then I put the value of the subjects and what colors I wanted to give them. And that allowed me to change the colors on my chart. So the next thing we added was the ability to create copy profiles. So what I'm talking about here is if I go to new, I can copy this grant. So maybe I'm an applicant, I'm coming in and I make a new grant every year, but I base it off my old grant. So I could come in here and say, copy the grant. And what you can do is you can set a profile for all your applicants and decide what gets copied and what doesn't get copied. So that's a new piece of functionality there. I think will be quite helpful. Then the next thing we did, I'm going to go to workflows. So when I generate a PDF, if I generate from the record, it knows who I am, right? It knows my roles, and it uses my roles to create a PDF that can see the things I should be able to see and not see the things I shouldn't see. But when I use a workflow to create a PDF, let me just jump in here. Yeah. When I create a workflow in PDF, I'm not creating that anymore. The system's creating it. And so as such, it doesn't use for a specific role. So what we've added is this new option here where I can pick a role. So when I'm creating a PDF or via workflow from the system, I can say, create this PDF as if I was an applicant, for example. So that's a new setting there for workflows. And that way, PDF will be created with the fields that an applicant should see and not the fields that it shouldn't see if you're using a workflow. All right, it's going to bring this over. Something else we added, and only for configuration, only for global administrators, is you can now take default attachments from a configuration folder on your email template. So this is only available to global admins because only global admins can see the configuration folders. But if you want, you can now attach some files from a configuration folder on your email template. It's only at this one location, though. All right, let's talk about I want to talk about the date formats. So if you're like me, and we work in all sorts of different regions, and sometimes you'll see something like this. Obviously, we wouldn't have that on there, but it'd be like 0103, and I often get confused: is it day, month, or month, day, because different regions use different formats. So what you can do, we've added a new format, for example. Here where it spells the whole month out, then the day, then the year. So if you want, you can switch your date formats. And this is where you control how you personally see your date formats in the system. So I can pick whatever date format I want here, whatever works best for me as a user, and save that. Something else that's new that we did was we made it really easy to add personal pronouns into the system. So when I'm talking about personal pronouns, it's like, how do I identify? So I identify as he, him. And you can see right here on my profile, there it is. And if I edit it, you can see here's my pronoun field. And I just added this tooltip. But let me go in and show you how I did that. So basically, it's just a standard field. And the new standard field is called pronouns. And I put a tooltip on it. And all you got to do is save it. So again, I'll just show you global settings, users, standard fields. If I search for pronoun, there's my pronoun field. Just open up that field, click save. You might want to put in a tooltip to help people out so they know what to enter there in case they're not familiar with personal pronouns. And you're good to go. That's all you need to do. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is, again, email templates. So I'm going to go here to global settings email. And I'm going to go to the templates. So this is where I set my templates. So I've set up an email template here. Okay, I got what I want. I put my variables in there. And I want to use this, let's say, in a workflow. So let me go now to a workflow. So here's a workflow. I set up a workflow, and then I set up a task. Here's my task to send this acknowledgement email. Maybe, when someone accepts or declines, or whatever, I send it this notification email. Or maybe I want to send a reminder that, something's due in a couple of days. Whatever it is I want to notify someone of. Now, when I click on the message template, we have some new options here. Okay. So previously, what you could do is you could pick a template and you would populate this workflow with that content of that email template. But once you did that, it's unique. So basically, if I did that for multiple ones, there's no tie to the template anymore once I've populated it. And what happens is, let's say I'm using the same message in like 15 places. Well, I have to go to 15 workflows to update that, which is really inconvenient. So instead, what we've added here is you now have a choice to actually pick an email template as is. So here I picked the email template. I picked the one I wanted, and you can see now it's read only. So that one email template I have, I can use that in 15 workflows. I can change it in one place, and I don't have to go to 15 different workflows to change that. We've even added this button here to open the email template, which is really kind of convenient. So if I wanted to edit the email template for all the workflows, and you can see I'm using it in only one workflow, but if I wanted to edit it, I can edit it here, and it's going to save you a lot of time if this is a process you use. Something else we did, I'll just show you the setting. So global settings. There we go. We added this setting here, automatically save new records. So sometimes when I'm in a system and I create, so if I toggle this on, it's going to automatically save all new records. Now let me show you what that means. So for example, if I come in here and I want to make a new record. So when I start making a new record, sometimes there'll be something where like it'll ask you, you have to save before you can do something. So if you toggle that on, it'll create the record and save it automatically. You don't have to write a script. You don't have to do anything special. It just creates it right away as soon as you hit new. And then you'd have access to everything you'd normally kind of have access to. So if that's something you want, you can toggle that on. It goes across the system. Anytime you hit new, it saves that record right away. The only, I guess, drawback to that is that every time you hit new, you're going to be creating a record. So if I hit new and I didn't want to save it, it's already going to be saved, and you'll have to clear those records out. But that's a new option if you want to do that. The next thing I want to talk about is versioning. So here I go. I got versioning here. So versioning, if you've never used it, it's a way of taking like a snapshot of your application in time. So if you think about, last year I had an application and people were filling in that application and it looked a certain way. And maybe the application takes a long time and they're still working on it. Their application's not complete, or it's still in process. And I don't want that application to change. So what I do is I create a version of that and I give it to all the people that were then. And then this year I want to make some minor changes, maybe checks changes or add a few new questions or something. I can make a new version for this year. And everyone who applies this year sees the new version, but the people who are in process still get their old version. So that's how versioning works. It kind of takes a snapshot of your application over time, and maybe you have application every year with a different version. Now, if I want to make a change to all of them, let's say something happened and I want to fix something or I want to change something in all the versions, I can also do that. So when I go to what's called the core field set, I would make that change. And then I copy using this button here to the other versions that I want. So I pick which versions I want. Now we've always been able to do this, and you would update it. But sometimes you don't want to update the display order. So I want to update the contents of the field, maybe the text, maybe functionality around it, but I want it to stay where it was in the display order. So then I would just toggle off the update display order. So that was a long way of explaining new setting. But versioning is kind of cool too, especially if you have if you don't want your applications to change in real time as you're making changes. It does add a layer of complexity though. All right. So, oh yeah, let's talk about this one. This one's very cool. So when I'm on a list view, for example, let's say I wanted to get all, I want to download all the attachments from these 3 applications. So I could select those and I can say download files, and it would create a zip file for me. I can pick which custom fields I want to pull, and it will create a zip file of all those things. So I don't have to go into each of those applications to get everything in there. So that's really convenient. Now, let's say I'm inside the record and I want to get all the attachments to this record as well. We can now do that. So under actions, there's a new option for download files. And so with a single click, I don't have to go to each of my supporting documents, each of my file upload fields. I don't have to go and download them one by one. I can just download them all in bulk. All right, so if I go back to the list view, I just want to show you how you turn this on, because maybe everyone doesn't know about it. So on the list view, I'm going to edit this list view, and then right here, enable file download. So that's on the list view level. So you can basically say on a list view level, you can download all the files. On the record level, it's done in a different location. So let me show you that. So I go to global settings, security, system feature permissions, and it's a feature, and then it's called, enable file download for record. So there it is. So on the level 1, 2, 3 orgs and users, under the action drop-down menu, you'll get the ability to download. Now, beyond this, we've added a integration for the UK Companies House. I don't have that set up, but it's kind of like a validation, just like the IRS validation, where basically when you're on a sign-up page, it goes out to the UK Companies House and checks to see if that organization exists. And then you can create that organization in your system based on that, and you know it's a verified organization. Another thing I was going to show you, I also don't have this one set up, but I'll just tell you about it. So when you're in the system, for example, I may have something that I feel like this as objectives, and people put a whole bunch of text in there. We do have an option to use Google Translate to automatically translate that. So maybe if all my applicants are speaking Spanish, but all my reviewers are speaking English, you can have this set up so it automatically translates that. So you can see Google Translate's version of this right away. And you can also now set up a default from and to. So if you all know, like I said, if you know everyone who's filling this in is always Spanish, you can default it to convert all Spanish into English for your English reviewers. The next thing I want to talk about is smart cards. So if you've never used the smart cards before, they're located here under the user menu. And these are like really good. I use these all the time. It's kind of like a bookmark or a favorite. So I might go into a meeting and maybe I want to talk about a couple applications with some of my colleagues. So what I do is I come in here and I dock it, and I can have this list, and I can see, okay, here's this application I want to talk about, and then here's this application I want to talk about, and I can kind of go down that list really easily. And so I can go anywhere in the system, and you can see this add to smart card. And if you've got smart cards enabled, you just add it to the smart card, and I can have this list of things that have nothing in common other than I want to talk about them. So smart cards aren't new; they're good. It's a good feature that to use. What is new is that if I go to the discussion board, so we have this discussion board. When you're in the discussion board, if you had a specific thread that you wanted to smart card, you can now do that. So in the discussion boards, I can create my topics, I create my threads, I can now put them on a smart card and then share that with people. And then you can put your responses in. So again, discussion board threads now have the smart card option. So now I want to talk a little bit about just some things for the administrators, and then we'll go to question and answer. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. I know there's a lot of density of information here. So anyway, these are just some admin things. I'll just kind of breeze through it quickly. We've added a whole bunch of places we can export things, like let's say your failed logins or your email queue. Maybe you want to take those out and you have someone on your team that wants to analyze some of that information. You can do that through the export. We've added the attachment icon, so you know when emails going out have attachments. Well, I just want to show you the autoloader for a second. Let me show you this. So with the autoloader, sometimes people will maybe you've got somebody in finance or whatever who wants to upload something to the system and autoload that information, and as such, you've used this link here to put a link in their portal so that they can upload right to the autoloader without having global admin privileges. We've added this one is the role permission here, which we encourage you to use if you're actually doing it in that way. So you can have a role permission so that only people who are logged in with this role can upload to that link. So that's something important. But when you are using the autoloader, you can now add multiple roles and categories. And I want to show you this one too. This is the link for standard fields. So if I go to, let's go to a record here for a second, application. So here I'm in an application, and you can see for convenience that I can jump right to the profile and look at that organization. I can also do that for the created by. Let me just show you. So right now, here I'm in the created by field. I have role access off, but if I don't restrict that profile link, then when I come in here and I refresh, you can see that I can view the profile. So again, I can either choose to show it or not show it based on the denial for those. So just something to note. Or I can choose who can see it as well. Okay, this is just administrative stuff. Just want to see anything else here. Yes, we did have the smart field options to the chart. If you don't know what smart fields are, so when we generate a PDF, we have a thing we call smart fields, and it just collects all the fields and puts them on, and you can decide. Let me just show you real quick. You can decide what gets included in the PDF and what doesn't. So here I've got a web page view field, which creates a PDF. All right, and this is all the HTML in there. And in there, there'll be a smart fields variable that pulls all the information. And if I look at a field like this one, you can see it says smart fields view. So if I say include, then when I create a PDF, it's going to include this field. If I say exclude, this field will not be in the PDF. And if I say smart fields only, you won't see it on the screen, but when I create a PDF, you'll see that field. So we extended that functionality to the charts, because originally when we introduced the charts, you couldn't put them in PDFs. Now you can. And now you can also choose whether or not you want them to appear. And I think, let me just see if there's anything else. I think it's time to open up to questions. Yeah, let's open up the questions and see if anybody, anyone has any questions.
Great, thanks, Mark. So it looks like we do have a couple questions.
Oh, we're having a little trouble hearing you. Sorry, Sarah, can you speak up?
Hey.
Try again.
Hey, sorry, can you hear me now?
A little bit. All right.
Sorry, everyone. Sometimes
Oh,
I
there
have
you go.
difficulty with my mic. So we do have a couple questions. So if we make a change to our existing security matrix after the upgrade goes live, will we also need to apply the and to the new change?
You don't have to. For existing clients, you don't have to make any changes. it's up to you if you want to turn that on. New clients, so it's like someone who's coming on after the upgrade, they won't have a choice. They will have to do the end, but for all existing clients, the behavior just stays exactly the same. So if you do nothing, it's okay. If you want to turn it on, that's also good, but just note that you're gonna have to go through and check all your permissions before you turn that on, and make sure you've got a hierarchy set and a category role.
Great, thank you. Can I change the date format globally so all dates show up as month, day, year?
That's kind of a yes and no. Like you can personally set it for you to show up month, day, year. You can also configure specific fields, but I don't think you can globally set it for all of them. And then also things like reports, they can be external. So a report will use whatever format is set on that report. So there's a number of areas to set the date. I'm not aware of a global setting for everywhere, but that's a nice enhancement idea. You might want to reach out to our platform team and suggest that, and we can look into it.
So, question on the autosave of a new record. Will autosave run the template formulas and workflows if defined in a default status in the UTA?
I'm not sure. We'd have to check that one. I would assume not, but don't quote me. Again, I think best to just reach out to maybe our platform team or just give it a quick test. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but that's a good question. I think it just creates it with a minimum amount of fields. But again, I don't want you to quote me on that.
Yeah. So Jamie, if you wanted to reach out to platform solutions at smartsimple.com, we can definitely look into that further for you.
Yeah, they'll take the time to really help you through it. And same with the Google Translate. I see that question come up here. Yeah, that's reach out to the email platformsolutions@smartsimple.com. They can show you how to turn that on, or the support team, that feature. I don't have it set up, unfortunately. It would take too long to set that up to show you right now.
Another question, when do you use the file download from the record feature? Is there any way to turn off the ability to download feature for specific upload fields?
Well, the download feature you have to enable. So by default, no one gets it, right? Neither on the list view nor on the record. Now, if they do it, so for example, here I want to say download files. Oh, that's going to download all the files. But on the list view, if I want to download, I get the choice here. So here I can pick which fields I want to download, and the structure of which I want to download them. So I'm not sure if I answered that correctly, but you have to enable it to use it. There's no specific way to say you can't download these fields. If they can see it, they can download it. If they can't see it, they can't. But you have control over whether or not they have the ability to download. In the meantime, I'd really like to thank everyone for coming. I know I talk a lot, but I do appreciate your time. Hopefully we found this helpful too.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thanks to Mark and Anne for the presentation. I really appreciate you taking the time to explain everything to us. It's really helpful. If anybody does have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to platform solutions at smartsimple.com or the support team. Like I said earlier, we will be posting this webinar to our YouTube page, and a copy will be sent to your emails. It just takes about a week. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, everyone.